Folks, welcome back to Flatirons Tuning. We're here in the shop. We've got our 24 WRX on the lift, and as you can probably tell, we are now finally diving in and we're doing some serious work to this car. In fact, the drivetrain is entirely out of this car because it is finally time. You guys have wanted us to do this for a long time, but it is finally the point where we need to put the STI 6-speed in the WRX. We've got to find out what you need to do, what parts do you need, how does it work, all that good stuff. In fact, we're almost halfway through the process. The easy part is done. All the drivetrain's out. So the transmission's out, rear diff is out, all that sort of stuff. We have some questions, and I'm sure you have these questions too, and these are the key things we want to address in this video. First thing is about the starter. Can you reuse the starter? Are there any issues with that? Front axles, what front axles can you use with the transmission? The shift linkage. So in this car, we had put in previously the Dark Matter X shifter, but that turns the shift linkage for the split case 6-speed that comes in this car into a direct mechanical linkage. But that's not going to be able to work for our STI 6-speed, so we have to use an STI 6-speed shift linkage. So this car also, it knows what gear you're in. And so one of the questions we have is if you put the STI 6-speed in, does it require tuning? Does the car get confused as far as what gear you might be in because of the STI 6-speed ratios, the taller final drive, all the other electronic nannies like eyesight and whatnot? Does that have an impact if you put the STI 6-speed in it? And then the diff controller. We're going to put in a map DCCD controller. How do you find all the wires and stuff that needs to get that to work? We're going to find out. So those are the questions that we have. We're going to get this thing put in there. Let's head up front. So up front, in front of me here, we've got some of the known quantities, the things that we know that we need. So we've got these in before we're starting the process. For the drive shaft, we are using a VA STI drive shaft, so 15 to 21 STI. We know that the STI drive shaft is not long enough to put the 6-speed in the VB chassis, but fortunately, P&L makes a spacer. This spacer adapts the STI drive shaft from the VA STI to make it the right length to fit into the VB WRX with the 6-speed. So we've got that going for us. Axles. We're putting in the R180 in the back, so we know we're going to need STI axles, at least we're pretty sure. So we've got STI rear axles. The front axles, that's one of the big questions that we have. Are we going to be able to use the WR axles? Do we need STI axles? We're going to find out. DCCD controller. This is going to be possibly the most interesting one. So we've got our map DCCD controller, and we have an I-wire wiring harness. So this makes connecting the STI 6-speed much more plug and play to connect the wiring to the car, so like your neutral position switch, reverse switch, and the initial wiring for the power and the DCCD easy. But then to make the DCCD fully functional, we have to send 4 pieces of information to the controller. We need engine RPM, throttle position, vehicle speed, and brake. So we're going to have to see where we can find all of these signals in the stock wiring for the VB WRX and send it to the DCCD controller to get it to work. That could actually be the most interesting and challenging part of all this, but we're going to find out. And then lastly, shifting assembly. So what we have here is the VA STI 15 to 21 STI shift linkage. So we know that this is right for the transmission. This will bolt right up to the transmission. But then where does that put the shifter into the car? Where does it go through the transmission tunnel? Is it going to be the right orientation? Is the movement of the shifter going to be impeded at all by the opening in the transmission tunnel? We have to figure that out. Fingers crossed. Minimal issues here, but with all that, this is the known quantities. We got to put the stuff back in to the car and see what we find. But let's talk about why we're doing this. So let's head back and look at the transmissions. So we've got it all laid out in front of us here. We have the R160 from our 24 WRX, the split case 6-speed from our 24 WRX, R180, and STI transmission. These are actually out of our rally car. We realize we have these spares. We got the rally suspension on the VB. Let's put it all in there. Let's see what happens. Now, why would we do this? Well, the simple answer is strength and a capability of holding power. The R180, you can see it here, is much bigger than the R160. The split case 6-speed that comes in these cars, we call them the 5.5 speed because it's like the split case 5 speeds that came in the WRX up to 2014. The two halves of the transmission are bolted together. That supports the input and the output shaft. The support is not as good for the two shafts. The bearings aren't as big. The gears aren't as big. They're just not designed to take as much power and abuse and torque as the STI transmissions are. The STI transmission, the center section, the body, is all one piece. It's got a lot more structure, strength built into it, bigger bearings, bigger gears. Like everything is overbuilt on the STI transmission, and it's just kind of enough in the split case 6-speeds. That's why we're doing this. But differentials, that's the other part of the story. Yes, the STI 6-speed has a DCCD, the driver-controlled center differential. But what's often overlooked is that it has some type of a front differential. Most of them are torque biasing differentials, a gear type. R180 also from the STI had a torque biasing differential in the majority of them. The very early STIs of 4 and 05, they actually had plated diffs front and rear. The STIs always had better differentials. That gives you more traction. A lot of the traction, the handling that the STIs had, the secret sauce was in the front and rear and the DCCD differentials. So by putting these into that car, now we're moving that kind of grip into our 24 WRX. Of course, because these are our rally car spares, they have Cusco diffs in them. So that's going to be really interesting to see how this behaves in the VB, see what it does, putting the plated diffs front and rear into the car. So all we got to do now is put the STI stuff back in. Let's get to it.
Driver? No, you got it.
Oh my god.
What? Ready? Yeah. There you go. Can you shove it in?
Oh yeah, there you go. There it is.
Good thing that you put a pin there so you don't fuck it up. This?
Yeah, what is that?
Crutch disc.
I guess, yeah. And now I need to bring the light back over here. I do want to get both transmissions because you can see the split case really good right here. Just like that. Have you been practicing your crump moves?
One more time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Never. There she is. All right.
Believe it or not, Viet has done an amazing job. It's all in the car. We now know the answers to all these critical questions that we had, that probably you have if you're looking at doing the swap yourself. First question, do you need to replace the starter? Yes, you do. We tried the WRX starter, it did not work. You do need the STI starter. We put in one from a 2021 STI, fired the car right up, no problem. So yes, you do need to switch out to an STI starter. Front axles. The front axles we stuck with are the WRX front axles. They snapped into the STI 6-speed, no problem. So yes, you can retain your WRX front axles. That is definitely a good way to go. Shift linkage. We used basically the shift linkage out of a VA STI, went in, no problem. It's crazy, like even the bolt holes and the threaded location for the rear shift bushing, it's all there in the car, even though the factory shifter didn't use it, it's all there. It bolted right up, came into through the transmission tunnel, no problem. It works perfectly. No issues with the throw or the clearance. There was one bracket that we had to trim a piece off of, but weight savings, right? You cut a big piece of metal off, that's a win. Weight savings. So yeah, really no issues with the shift linkage. Electronics, we still don't know yet. Being that this is our rally car transmission, it may have been in a car that rolled a time or two, or a few cars that rolled. And so we discovered that the wiring harness was not all intact, and so we haven't been able to wire it in yet. The transmission does work, but we don't have the solution to the wiring problems yet, or we don't know. So we're gonna have to get back to that. But then the rear diff. The rear diff, put in the R180, we just moved over the carrier from the WRX R160. We put in STI axles. And the STI axles are just a skosh shorter in length than the WRX axles, but so far they snapped in. They seem to be working fine. We're gonna probably here shortly take the car on a test drive, but everything seems to be working. So STI axles in the rear, R180 rear diff, no problem. The STI, the VA STI drive shaft with the P&L spacer worked perfectly. So yeah, basically all the mechanical stuff, it was shocking how straightforward the swap was. An even faster process the next time around. Really, really encouraging how simple this is. So that's the mechanical side of things. Boy, I guess the only thing left to do is maybe take this thing for a test drive. So let's see what happens. Maiden voyage with the new 6-speed. So yeah, I mean, from this standpoint, it almost looks factory. This is the VA STI factory short shifter that we actually had in our Pikes Peak car, go figure. Clutch, XD15803, so the stage 1 clutch. Clutch pedal is quite stiff. You gotta be very direct with the clutch, but that's all right. And here we go. Again, the transmission and the diff that we're using here, this is our rally car spares. So the diffs are Cusco diffs, front and rear, so it's a little bit grabby from that standpoint, but here we go. Kind of interesting that we've got our rally car transmission and the VB with our rally car suspension. Kind of interesting that. Eyesight seems to work. That's a big plus. It's a little bit interesting driving this with the rally diffs, but just a little bit. Takes a little getting used to. Yep. We're still having some wiring problems. Well, I have not connected the wiring yet, so there's no. The DCCD is not doing anything. Yeah, see, there's a little bit of clunking there as we're taking the sharper turns. Power delivery feels really good. I mean, I think that shorter first gear is nice. The shifter feels great. It just feels so predictable. Oh man, like the diffs. The diffs are such a missing piece of the puzzle when it's all open and you just have traction control. But now that we've got the diffs, ooh, yeah, this feels really good. Now I kind of want to take this out onto more dirt, see what it's like. Overall, very straightforward, very simple. It's amazing how easy the swap was, and I mean, now it kind of feels like the car just should have come this way. Oh, yep, locking up the tires. Okay. Plenty of power. It feels zippier. I think the shorter gears in first and on, I think it just works better with the fact that it's not building a lot of boost pressure initially. But so the shorter gear helps. With these brakes, the TR brakes, this transmission, the STI transmission, R180 in the back, this is an STI except for the power level. Ours, we're actually probably making more power than stock STI. It just feels awesome. Yeah, this is how it should have come. If Subaru would have put the 6-speed in this car from the factory, man, same power level, everything. I mean, this is nice. This is really good. So there you have it. That is all it takes to put an STI 6-speed in the VB WRX. Way easier than I would have thought. Really nice results. We got to test out these diffs on the rough stuff, and we got to get the DCCD working, which we're going to do it. I think that'll be very soon to come, but we'll document that all on its own. But for right now, mechanically, everything's in there and it's working and it works great. If you have a VB WRX, I understand why so many of you guys are putting these STI transmissions in, because this really is how it should have come from the factory. Thanks for much for watching. Thanks for your support as always. And until next time, stay tuned to Flat Iron's Tuning.